huge Amex Resy changes, the state of the miles and points industry, Paze, the promo that went wrong, and the great office scare of 2026. All of that coming up right now on MTM Travel.
Wow, Sean's really overselling all this.
You're the one who put great office scare of 2026. So happy Thursday, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well out there. We have some interesting miles and points stories as we're settling back in at home. And I can't wait next week to talk to everybody about how I beat jet lag.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it like 4 times now, so you're very excited about this.
Which means that I'm totally stepping over my skis here and overselling it. But I heard something, I tried something, and maybe over time, but I think it's worth sharing. So next week on the travel show, I will talk about my strategy for jet lag and how for the first time in years, I arrived back home and didn't feel completely messed up for some reason. So good stuff there.
Yeah, I'm interested to get the full details, the full story. I've heard bits and pieces over the last week, but it does get harder as you get older, and it takes a little bit longer to adjust. And sometimes it's better if you go east to west, and other times it's better if you go west to east. And I think each person's different in that terms of things. Like one way is okay for them, and the other way is brutal, and it just kind of depends on your body, I think. But maybe this can help either way.
Yeah, and if you're somebody who says, "Oh, I don't suffer from jet lag," just wait. I didn't used to, but we will stop talking about that. Let's talk about the great office scare of 2026, as you put it in the show notes, trying to make me sound all dramatic over here. But last week, an email, or a few days ago, an email went out to Ink Plus cardholders. Now, Ink Plus is not a card you can get anymore. You haven't been able to get it for quite a long time. But one of the great things is 5X on office supplies. And basically, it seems like they were sending out this email to update about the Hyatt stuff, the new transfer rates on Hyatt. And they had copy and pasted from a different card that has this. So basically, it seemed like they were getting rid of office supplies, changing it to something else, and it all ended up being a mistake.
Yeah, it said shipping and then cable, internet, phone, that stuff, and that's very similar to what Ink Preferred has, but they also some other things like travel. But so I'm guessing somebody just copy and pasted, like you said, or made an error. They probably haven't had to write or look at or talk to anyone about the Ink Plus in 10 years or more. And I'm sure that it was some intern that wasn't even working for the company when that was a card and was like, "What's this? Oh, it must be the Ink Preferred thing." And they just kind of slapped it in there, and it didn't make a lot of sense. And that's when I wrote it up. I think we were the first ones to cover it. I think that this is probably a mistake. It doesn't, there's no other inkling of this. They probably normally would have said, "Hey, at this date, you won't earn 5X anymore." They would have made some bigger announcement. And then when you logged into your account, because you still have an Ink Plus card, it didn't show any changes in there or anything. So I'd kind of leaned with that hopefully this is a mistake. We reached out to Chase, and they did confirm later that evening that, yes, in fact, it was an error. Some other people ran with it and said, "Oh, the world's ending. Ink Cash is next. Oh, no, we're never going to get office supply again." And maybe that happens at some point in the future, because I guess that they most likely are losing money on those purchases. I doubt the swipe fees are over 5%, but we're not there yet. And luckily, it was just human error.
Yeah, always good when it's human error. And as you point out, the Ink Cash, the no annual fee sort of version of this card, you would think they would remove it from that at the same time or first. So yeah, it didn't make a ton of sense, but it's always nice when it turns out to be better than you thought. Well, let's talk about this Paze promotion that they just came out with, because there's been some abuse with it, right? They're kind of playing games here, but this was a great promotion. Spend $10, get $10 back up to 10 times when you use Paze checkout, and that runs all the way through September 10th. And so you get it up to 10 times per eligible card on your Paze account. As people do, they found a loophole, right?
Not really a loophole. They just found like a really good option. And I think the fact that, Paze did the 10X thing with Chase, where if you use a Chase card, you get 10X up to $1,500. So people were already kind of getting into the system and hammering it a bit there. And Newegg was like the number one location because they sell third-party gift cards. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm going to go get 10X on this third-party gift card." And Chase came out and said, "All right, we're not going to do it for gift cards anymore. We're not going to do it at Newegg after the end of the month, June 30th. And then people were like, "Wait a second." Then this $10 thing came out, and they're like, "Oh, I got to go hammer $10 gift cards on Newegg." So then they shut down third-party gift cards altogether, like in the first day. And then they're like, all right, well, I'll buy $10 Newegg gift cards and load them into my account. And then they shut that down. So now people are focusing on like Domino's you can do if you when you check out. Same with Wendy's. And then I think Dunkin' Donuts, you can still get gift cards. I'm guessing Dunkin' Donuts is the next one they're going to try to block because people are just buying $10 gift cards over and over again. But they kind of created this problem because they said, oh, it's going to end. Where if people would have just kind of done it over the whole time, it might not have been as bad. But that just goes to show you the power that we do have in this space. How many people we're the ones paying attention to these one-off promos. Regular Tom and Jerry's probably like, what's Paze? I don't care. $10, whatever. And we're like, oh, you're gonna give me thousands of free dollars? Let's go.
But it also shows like how things have changed and how opportunities don't last as long because of social media and the dynamics, and that's changed the whole game, which we'll talk a bit about later. But just another reminder, and this is always the case with deals like this: if something's too good to be true or so easy or so lucrative, just do it as soon as you can, because there's always a chance that they're going to change the terms, and most of the time they do. They'll change what you can get. They'll end an offer early once they figure out that you're using it in a way that they didn't intend, even if, like you said, it really wasn't a loophole, they will change things. So get in while the getting's good.
Yeah, you got to maximize when you can, where you can, because we've talked about technology is not our friend, and AI and other systems are catching this stuff quicker than ever and closing back doors and good opportunities for, and that's an award space, bookings, hotels, airlines, all that stuff, credit card space, spending, everything. So you do have to be on the ball, and that kind of plays into our downfall too, because people are on the ball and they do it too quick, too fast, and then everything gets closed too. So it's like a double-edged sword there.
Also, here's some bad news. I'm kind of sad about this. Resy and American Express, there is a new change to the terms for Resy credits. So beginning August 1st, it will actually have to have a little symbol on it saying that it's eligible for Resy credits. So as of now, any Resy restaurant is eligible to use Resy credits, but beginning August 1st, they're going to limit you on what you can do. And we don't really know how widespread this will be or how it's going to cut down the number of restaurants. But I imagine this is going to be significant in cutting out just a lot of what you're able to use right now.
I think there was an update from Doctor of Credit that they reached out and said this isn't changing the restaurants as of now. Like we're just adding it so people know what's going on and things like that. So I can see it opening up the door to potential where they say, "Oh, this restaurant's only on these days or these times," or things like that. Or there's Resi restaurants in the program that aren't a part of the credit. I don't think it will have massive implications to begin. We'll have to see where that goes down the road. This could end up just being like, remember when Uber, and I was talking to Benji about this when it first came out, and he said, "Do you remember when Uber first came out and they changed the terms and everybody was freaking out that using your Uber credit was going to be so hard and difficult, and it ended up like you couldn't combine it with Uber Cash and all these other things. All it ended up being was you had to have your Amex card as the checkout, even if you weren't using it. So maybe it will just be like that. Maybe it'll be somewhere in between. Maybe it'll be the end of Resi credit. I'm hopeful that it will just kind of be a way to mark things better, or this is just lawyer speak. I don't know. Or maybe they'll onboard some restaurants, but they won't join the program. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that would be my guess. This gives them more options in the future as they sign new contracts with restaurants or alter contracts or some of their more popular restaurants. Just the economics on the back end, this allows them to sort of do that. And we've definitely seen other programs do that over the years. If that's the case, then you probably aren't going to see a huge change initially, but you do wonder over time if they're going to be signing up a lot of new restaurants that are not participating, and then if other restaurants renegotiate contracts. But as you say, I mean, even like McDonald's, when they have their national, specials, right? Certain restaurants opt out of that. So there's every program that we've ever been a part of has some sort of a carve out. So probably will be something down the line, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be a huge thing. I think the Uber comparison is a great one. Is we tend to get we get our panties in a bunch before we before we see actually what happens.
Well, they make us feel that way because whenever they say, "Oh, enhancement," it's going to be bad. So we just always assume everything they come out with is going to be a negative change, and hopefully this isn't too major. I know they did say they're going to bring on some Talk restaurants, or restaurants that are on Talk are going to be joining Resi, so they should be adding even more restaurants to it. And it does seem like in this area, it's really kind of grown. more so than like an in kind, which isn't as big in this area as it is in Vegas, but it's growing gangbusters there. Here, I feel like Resy has really expanded quite a bit, that it's getting more like mid tier, not all high end restaurants, which is nice to see.
Along the lines of that, Capital One Shopping, just want to do a shout out for them. I think they have an $80 referral now. I'll put my referral link down there. But in the last few weeks, I keep getting these targeted offers. And I think that's really where Capital One Shopping comes through. They will, you can download the browser extension, do all of that. But when you click to certain stores, you often get increased cash back. I just got a $50 off or $50 cash back on a $100 enterprise rental. And I just did that for my drive back. 45% off Skechers for new shoes yesterday. I know that in a couple days they're running a Viator special, which will be increased. I don't know what that is. Klook, I've seen like up to 30-40% cash back, another ticketing service. Of course, StubHub, some people click through and then they end up getting crazy amounts. I still have a lower amount on StubHub, but don't sleep on Capital One Shopping. It's not my preferred number one portal, but when you see those offers, I mean, $100 off a $100 hotel sitting in my Capital One Shopping right now, it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, and they do have huge offers, and a lot of people will go click a place that they want to buy something from that's in Capital One, one of the partners Capital One deals with, and then not buy it or add it to cart and then leave it there, and then they'll get an email for a higher offer. So there's all kinds of tricks and tips you can do with Capital One shopping, and I don't love it because the tracking isn't the best. I've run into problems with there, but when they have these deals, I'm still gonna go risk it for the biscuit, as they say. Is that still a saying? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're all over the place with our sayings today, so that's better than mine probably was. Yeah, it's just I don't use it as my everyday portal. I do. I'm a little strategic with clicking through to make sure to see if I can get an offer down the line. And then every day they have increased, like they had 45% cash back on Skechers yesterday randomly, which is just a crazy deal on top of the other discounts and stuff like that. So I'll put a link down below. What is this that hotel owners are extorting Marriott for more money? They say, hey, in the old days, people used to earn their points through staying in hotels. This was really to design for loyalty and to fill rooms. But now the companies like Marriott, Hyatt, they're all making money off selling their points, and they're still paying the hotel owners less, and they want to cut of the action.
Yeah, I think they make a really great point here, and I don't know that that's great for us, because they're selling points to the credit card companies, to the shopping portals, so all these different things, promotions and stuff that has nothing to do with hotel stays. I mean, most of us earn our hotel points with transfer partners from Chase, things like that. We earn our hotel points without actually paying for. I haven't paid for a hotel outside of like FHR in a long time. They have a point. Like it used to be, oh, I spent money at your hotel. I get a rebate that I can use at a future hotel. And maybe it's not the same hotel, but they got the same thing where you spent money there and then they use the points over here. So it's kind of just everybody moving money around between each other. And now it's Marriott's getting all the money and they're giving a little bit out to the hotels. And this is the same for all the programs because unlike airlines, they don't own the hotels. Airlines own the airlines. So they're benefiting from this, where these hotel owners aren't benefiting from all these points being sold. And then I had assumed, okay, you're charging us way more points per night, got rid of award charts, all these things because cash prices are higher. Well, come to find out, they haven't changed the rate that they're paying hotels. I assume that got doubled or something, or it fluctuates depending on the cash price, or as we're seeing these rates rise. It sounds like from some of the comments I've seen, hotels are still getting like that $40 or $50, which doesn't make sense to me. You're charging us more, you're getting more money from everywhere else, and you're giving your hotel owners, who's your end consumer, nothing extra. And when they come knocking and say, we want more money, they're just going to charge us more points when they've already done it. That price is already baked in. They just didn't give any of it to the hotels.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we've talked a lot about how the hotel owners, the landowners, the real estate trusts are their customers and how they've changed their products and the experience of the hotels, even the elite benefits to favor property owners having to spend less. But at the same time, it does seem when this is all laid out, 1 Mile at a Time has a great article. And as they say, it's like, this is going to be bad news for all of us. It's going to cost us more, right? Because they're going to have to up rates even more if they're going to have to pay the hotels. But it's fair. It does seem fair. It doesn't, when you really think about all the money that these companies are making by selling the miles and how they've expanded their business because of it, now they're giving the same piddly amount to the hotel. And just so people know how it works, lower occupancy, they pay very little to the hotels. Now, when they fill up and it's higher occupancy, they can pay basically the rack rate. So it is costing them more to reimburse hotels when they're full, but as a portion of their profits, it's far less. And I never really thought much about this, but I mean, I hate siding with the hotel owners, but it does seem like they have a point.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I assume that they were charging us more. All these changes to award charts and just the top end Hilton used to be 150K, now it's 250K. I assume that was because they renegotiated the rates, and it sounds like they didn't. So they already got more, and then they're going to renegotiate and need to get even more. So we're going to see 300K Hiltons pretty soon here, I guess. I don't know. This is just crazy, and that's why I think the airline mile is maybe a bit sturdier. And one, it's already more valuable for the most part, but they own those programs. So they're benefiting from all of this, where these hotel owners aren't benefiting anything from the loyalty program except for driving more people to the hotels. And sometimes that is a cash payer because they're like, oh, I want to earn my points. But a lot of times that's probably points people that they're not making anything off of, basically just covering the cost to turn the room over. So this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
And the hotels are the carrots, right? That's what they're selling, the dream of the free stays, and that's how they're selling all these points. And they don't own the carrot, right? They don't own the hotels. The hotel owners do. And so they have some leverage to say, hey, I'll go to another brand who will pay me more, or I'll go independent. But certainly they're not going to sit by and let them do more. So yeah, this isn't just for Marriott. I suspect you're going to see this across all of these companies, and it's going to become more widespread. So yeah, that's why it's bad for all of us.
Yeah, and a lot of these hotel owners own a hotel in all the different companies. Like they'll own a Marriott over here, a Hilton over there, a Hyatt over there. Like they're not loyal to just one brand. So if they can renegotiate it here, they're going to say, "Hey, Marriott gave me this. I'm going to switch this Hyatt to a Marriott if you don't give it to me," and it's just going to cascade through that.
So One Mile at a Time also had this interesting editorial by Ben called Miles and Points, the best of times, the worst of times, and what's next. And kind of walks us through the last 20 years, a lot of which both of us have experienced, where this game has just completely changed. And it went from being a hobby by a few people or thousands of people, but certainly a minority of the population, to something that a lot of people sort of tread in and very mainstream. And his takeaway is that it's just not fun anymore. But he kind of breaks down like what has changed so much, or what contributed to the changes. The way we share information. Remember back in the day, it was flyer talk, right? Early days of social media, maybe, but bulletin boards. People are value experiences. When I started traveling the world 20 years ago, it was far more rare. And now with social media, all the young people, they value the experience and the travel. And so it's sort of grown the market there. Credit cards have matured so much over the last 10, 15 years compared to what they were. So you have, more bonus categories, but they're also reaching customers in different ways all the time. And the premium airline products have gotten better, which make it more enticing, right? Better seats. When I started flying business class, almost everything was angled lie flat, which wasn't as aspirational. And just that they've all become better at business, I think, is a great point. The airlines, the hotels, just what we've talked about, they're better at making money and being more efficient in the way that they do it, which hurts the little nooks and crannies that we used to operate in.
Yeah, I think technology, like we've said, has a lot to do with that. It's easier for them to identify when people are taking advantage of certain things, or something is costing them money in a big way. They can close it down a lot quicker than they used to. But there's a flip side to this, and Ben does discuss it as well. Like the earning rates are so much better than they used to be. I remember back in what was like 2011, the Sapphire Preferred came out with their 50K bonus, and then they rolled out 2x earning on dining and travel, and that was revolutionary. Think about that. Like people lost their mind over one, a 50,000 point bonus, and two x earning. That's like the bare minimum you should get now. Anything below that is sad and pathetic, but it was pretty much everything was 1x. There was no bonus categories, and Chase really kicked it off with the Sapphire Prefer refresh. They launched it a couple years before that, and it wasn't a very good card. And then this came out, and everybody kind of lost their mind, and it grew from there. And now we just talked about 5x office stores, 4x gas, 4x dining, 5x dining with promos. You can stack it up to like 12x sometimes. There's just so much more availability out there to earn. So obviously, as they give more points, they make them worth less. They've closed down award charts. They've closed down loopholes, all that stuff. But I think that The earn side has kept pace, if not outpaced the inflation of the burn side, at least for the most part. Maybe not everywhere, but the majority of things, I think you can earn the points easier than you used to be able to. Yeah, that flight might be 75K when it used to be 40K, 30K, but bonus we've seen 300,000 point bonuses now. Like 50,000 points back then get you a round trip to Europe. 300,000 you can play it a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I agree with you. On the spending side, I'm not going to say that, yeah, things weren't cheaper. They were much harder to earn things. And if you probably put all that through the wash, maybe you can earn at the same rate to redeem at sort of similar levels to what you could in the past. The one thing that hasn't kept up is inventory controls. And as these become more popular, it just becomes harder to book things. He talks about several examples like Lufthansa first class, but many over the years. And he talks about like what are the trends happening in the industry and where's it going to go, specifically speaking to, more and more airlines for their best inventory, their best awards, they're, only for their own metal. United's doing this a lot. I mean, so many airlines are doing this a lot. So while you might be spending maybe on the same level, if you factor in your ability to earn more and better welcome offers and stuff, the availability of what we used to have, loose rules around stopovers and very, very cheap redemptions, that's gone for good and it's not coming back. And this sort of affects when you're talking to new people about getting into the hobby. And I'm not the best one for this, but somebody will come up with a trip. I want to go do this. And the explanation is now so complicated on how you should go about that compared, I feel like, to 5 or 10 years ago. I felt like I could give much simpler advice if I was being honest with them. Whereas now there is a level of complication you have to be willing to accept, even on the most base level, or at least that's sort of what the way I feel about it. You have to make sure you're on the right cards and offers.
I think we complicate things a bit because we're looking for the best value, and that adds to that when we're trying to, "Oh, well, this is the best way to book that." And I think that what has happened as it's gone mainstream, miles and points have gone mainstream, they've made it more like a cash per point, like a cent per point or 1.2 cents per point type of valuation. They brought it down, but they've made it simpler. Like they want you to earn in their program, they want you to burn in their program. And that's really straightforward. We find the value in the partners, and the partnerships have gotten more difficult. Finding space has gotten more difficult because they're trying to make they're working towards the mainstream, and they're cutting us out in the process. And I think that's where you're coming into trying to explain to someone where most of the time, if you're talking to a regular person, you'd be like, just get this card, it transfers to this airline, that's who you're going to fly, book it, and that's what they want. They want that type of simplicity, and that's where a lot of these people, yeah, they see it on TikTok, "Oh, I can fly everywhere," and they get excited about booking that flight to Europe, even though it's not we know it's not a good value, but we're value, I don't wanna say the word, but we're value W words, where we're just trying to get like the best. So we're like, "Oh yeah, I could get that same flight, but I gotta book it with this partner. Wait, they don't do so well anymore. Let me check this one or this one." And you're going back and forth. Like it used to be much easier. If I was flying Delta, I could find Virgin space a good port more than half the time, especially internationally. And now it's almost non-existent. So it's just like hopping around. We're hopping around to find that same high, to get that same excitement, that same value. And I think that's why Ben said it's less fun because it's harder to get that hit, that fix, than it used to be. When if we just went more mainstream and just said, "All right, we're earning more. Who cares about the burn?" We'd probably be happier.
I mean, it's a great point on are we rational too? I mean, he says, how can airlines keep milking these programs for profits while having fewer carrots to dangle for members, just like we talked about? And then he says, one point to acknowledge is that most consumers aren't necessarily rational. And that's to your point, is that a lot of people are getting the good juju, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them. At the end of the day, we're still doing far better than we were. And I would say, like, around the world, I was thinking about this when I was reading this, we still have the best access to all of this. And I think that on every level, if you engage in the miles and points hobby more than other people, you're still going to find outsized value. But I think what he's really trying to say, it's like when we had loyalty programs like Starwood Preferred Guest, right? I met the guy who started SPG, who was the first guy who ran that program. And now when you have programs, the people who are coming up, they've grown their whole lives around these programs. Business schools have taught how these loyalty programs work. We're just in a more mature version of capitalism all across the board, but certainly in the loyalty space where people know this natively from their whole lives. And so they're contributing. And so we have all kinds of different bonuses, promotions, ways to go about it. It's more complicated than ever. And I think that's really what he's talking about. It's just not as simple as it used to be. And the companies are, anytime there's going to be a value, back then, maybe somebody would, people would get mad when somebody would put something on Flyer Talk, right? Like a mistake fair. You remember those mistake fair boards on Flyer Talk?
Yeah.
And then people say, well, why did you share that on Flyer Talk? And then, maybe a couple hundred people would see it and it would die. But now somebody can make a TikTok video and millions of people see it. And there's just no way to keep that from affecting the companies. So they're going to close the loophole, make the outsized value redemption go away, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, remember they used to always say bloggers kill everything, and now you never hear that because it's not bloggers that kill anything.
Yeah.
It's Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, they just wish they had the bloggers these days. Because I mean, and it doesn't even have to be big creators, right? Because the algorithm, if enough people are doing it, you could be a small creator talking about something small and it could still go wide in a way that just didn't exist before. And the passive way that we consume content, where it's sort of served to us, doesn't mean that I have to go look for that redemption. It just means that it could come to me. And I think that has opened the door for a lot of people, and it just makes it unsustainable, while at the same time, see that Marriott story above, the companies have gotten better at making money and giving us less and making more. And that's really what it is.
Yeah, that was a really great point about social media and how it's served to you. People aren't like, you used to go finding like, oh, I'm going to fly this route. What's the best deal? And you'd have to dig it up. And now it's just like, hey, do you want to go here? Okay, this is how you do it for cheap. So it's a whole different thing. But let's be honest, it was always Reddit that killed everything anyway.
And now all the AIs are just purely trained on Reddit. So we're going to
Yeah,
have a bunch of
it's the
Reddit
worst.
robots. All the Reddit robots are taking over. And that's why you got to support your content creators, bloggers. And I just have to say, I mean, I've been reading Lucky's stuff for, I don't know, 15 years plus now. And more often than not, when he does an editorial, he just nails it. He has such a great understanding of the industry on all sides, and should read this. But, 1 mile at a time, a huge name in the space. But we're glad we have him in the space because he's such an interesting, unique point of view.
Yeah, he could have sold out a long time ago. So kudos to him for sticking with it.
There you go. So let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about today. Did you get scared with the Ink Preferred or Ink Plus changes that didn't come? Resy, do you see that being worse? But, hotels, are you worried about hotels charging the programs more, therefore them charging you even more on the heels of all these devaluations that we've gone through? And then, is miles and points fun? Let us know what you guys think about that. I'll put a link down to all the articles and the editorial down below. And we will be back on Tuesday with another show, How to Beat Jet Lag. I'm so excited. Mark wants to hear it. I know. Talk to you next time.
I'm excited to see Sean's new haircut. We'll see what it looks like next week.
God,
Have a good weekend, everybody.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelt.